But Brandon, let's move on into our last team, and that is going to be the Texas Longhorns. And this is the team I couldn't wait to talk about, guys. This is the team that I've waited all preview to talk about because this could be, Brandon, the most hyped team in the mind of Ricky Widmer coming into 2017. It's all because of one man. All because of one man, and that is Tom Herman.
I know. You're in love with him. You've got a man crush on him.
Cannot wait to see what he can do with this team, and he is where I want to start because for Texas, that is the big change coming into this year. I know we've talked about it in the past, but now that we've gotten closer to football season, what do you think life is going to be like for the Longhorns in the Tom Herman era?
Well, I think the life is going to be a lot more less stressful. I think because of all the crap that they had to deal with, and that Charlie Strong had to deal with as well. They never gave him a chance. He never had a chance. He never had a chance to be successful. They went with him, and then it seemed like almost soured on him right away. So they really did him a really big disservice to him, and I think that's really sad. But now, this Texas Longhorn team, there's going to be a lot more excitement. There's going to be a lot more energy. There's going to be a lot more guys probably in there even more, working that much harder to be back to where Texas football once was, that we all know where Texas football once was. They've got a really good young quarterback, and Shane Buechele showed some great things last season. It's always exciting to see where that young quarterback makes their strides for the next season. We talked about so many already just in all the previews that we've done, which seems like a million to this point, but it's not. But we have talked about a lot of quarterbacks making the stride to year two. And it's no different for Shane Buechele, who started as a true freshman and now is a true sophomore. And it's always exciting to see where they go. And he did some big things last year for Texas. In a marred season, he did some pretty good things for them. And how can you not be excited for him under the Tom Herman era, where Tom Herman loves to work with quarterbacks? And Shane Buechele has a very, very good shot of continuing to be the guy to go to here with the Texas Longhorns.
Well, and I'm glad you brought up Buechele because he's not the only one that this team's returning. They get him. They have experience at running back with Chris Warren III. They also have experience at receiver with Colin Johnson, Devin Duvernay, and then also Armani Foreman and Gerard Hurd as well. So this is a team that, especially on offense, has experience coming into 2017. And this is a team that the reason why they are last this week is they were the highest record of the bottom feeders here in the Big 12. 5-7, 3-6, exact same record as the team we talked about from Texas Tech. However, I don't know about you, Brandon. I'm on the mindset that this Texas team, maybe it could be my little, my burnt orange visors that I'm wearing because of my boy Tom Herman, but I think that this team has a better opportunity conference-wise to make the jump forward than the team we just talked about in Texas Tech. And it's going to be hard. They have a tough schedule of you get Oklahoma in the Red River Shootout. That's neutral site. Tough game against Oklahoma State, but you get them at home. However, one of the biggest games, they got to go ahead and play USC on the road at USC, third game of the season.
That game, Ricky, I am so excited for.
So you hyped for it, Brandon? You hyped?
How can you not be?
How could you not be?
How can you not be? I think it's going to be a really exciting game with USC. We know going to be as good as we expect them to be with Sam Darnold. And this Texas team really going to be in a much better spot than what they were last year. And this is early in the season. You know, this is just what, game 3 of the season? That's going to be an early test right away to kind of see where both of these teams are at early on. I think that's really, really, really interesting. Ricky, I want to get to something really quick.
Okay.
And I want to read something off to you. And this is from College Football News, an article that they have and that they wrote, and I think it's a very interesting article. And the name of the article is Tom Herman, ? Texas, you'd better be right. And let me read a little bit of this to you. They talk about how you have all this money, you could pick whichever college coach you want, and you pick Tom Herman. You pick the guy who lost to a bad UConn team 2 years ago, ruining a possible invite into the college football playoff. You pick the guy who had the college football playoff right there for the taking after demolishing Oklahoma to start last season and later lost to Navy. Got blown out by SMU, lost to Memphis to finish third in the division of a group of 5 conference. Go ahead, name a college football head coach who flopped as badly as Herman did with a team good enough to destroy OU and Louisville last season, and the next season fell up to a gig as amazing as this. Yeah, Texas, you'd better be right, and right away, because there's absolutely no honeymoon period with the heater Herman has been dealt. Your thoughts?
The thoughts I have from that is the UConn team. Yeah, that was a surprise. I thought they were going to be. I had them college football playoff bound. Let's put that to the kiss of death. Let's put it to the kiss of death. I had them college football playoff bound, especially late in the year. But that Navy team, I like that team. And they had a good running back in James Conner. So it wasn't like that Navy team, I didn't think it was that much. Like the UConn one, huge surprise. They probably should have beat them. And the Navy one wasn't so much for me. The main difference that we have here is that's how I feel like we may get the split between Power 5, working with a Power 5 talent team and a Group of 5 talent team, to where it's not necessarily the talent isn't as big from FBS to FCS or D1 to D2 or D2 D3 or D2 to NAIA. However, there is a little bit of a talent gap between Power 5 and Group of 5. If quarterback A on Houston had the talent to be the starter at Alabama, guess what? He would be the starter at Alabama. So I kind of look at it where being a Power 5 team should have a little bit more talent, especially at Texas. Should have a little bit more talent than he was looking at. However, like you said, that article kind of gives you a little bit of a question mark. And the thing I was going to say before you read that was I was going to have a bold prediction for this year. Are you ready for it?
I'm always ready for your bold predictions.
October 14th, Texas is going to beat Oklahoma in the Red River Shootout. They're going to beat them, and it's going to be a good win for them. I almost went and said they'd beat Oklahoma State as well, only because they have them at home. But Oklahoma for sure, I am giving that game. I think it's going to be a Longhorn victory, and that could be the game we look at to where, maybe Oklahoma is not a college football playoff team this year moving forward.
So as much as I kind of look at you, just kind of like
you knew you were going to get one.
I'm just I'm mulling it over to go say Oklahoma and Oklahoma State is a little whoa.
Is it? I mean,
I think it might be.
Oklahoma State's at home this year.
I think it might both of them.
Well,
both of them back to back are home.
Oklahoma is neutral site.
Well,
yeah, but it's technically they'll be in the home jerseys.
So as long as you have, for Oklahoma, as long as you have Baker Mayfield, you always have a shot to win. But I think that Texas is getting, hopefully, to the point where they're able to say, well, as long as you have Shane Buechele, you got an opportunity to win. And seeing what we saw from Shane Buechele last season, he is a smart guy with a great arm who can heave the ball down the field big time and do it well and accurately. Going up against Oklahoma, Oklahoma showed some great things to me last year, especially towards the end of the season. They struggled a bit at the beginning, they scuffled a bit at the beginning, but they came out towards the end and they made a great run. And they were just short of being able to get into the college football playoff. If they have a season like they did of the second half and the final third of their season last year, I don't think Texas can beat them. But if they play like they did at the beginning of the season last year, Texas can certainly beat them. So what Oklahoma team do we get? That's the question. That's the biggest question. What Oklahoma team are we going to see? Are we going to see the team that scuffled in the first 3-4 games of last year? Or are we going to see the Oklahoma team that was thriving at the end of last season?
I just think this Texas team this year, last year, this is a perfect example of, remember in one of the other ones you said, well, Ricky, welcome to 2017. This is the time we can say welcome to 2017. Because like looking at both schedules from last year to this year, here's how I see the Texas Longhorn season going in a nutshell. You start the season 2-1, win over Maryland, win over San Jose State. I am sorry, I am way too high on this Trojan team to give you a win in sunny South California. Trojans with the win with the number 1 overall pick leading the way. Then you go to Ames, you get a win. You go back home to play Kansas State. You get a win. I know you lost by 3, but the Tom Herman effect and how he's going to have this team rolling, giving them a win to Kansas State at home this year. I'm calling the game. It's an upset, but I'm calling it a win against Oklahoma. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Win against Kansas, win against Texas Tech. That's 7. And then I could see wins against Baylor and West Virginia on the road. So this team, to me, I look at it and I think they could be, I'm going to go 6 wins to about maybe 8. 6 to 8 is my window for this Longhorn team.
I could see this team going through the schedule as you did, an 8-5 team, including a win in the bowl. In the bowl game. 8-5 team. I think that's a realistic thing for this Texas team. And if they're not able to get there, and I'll be honest with you, if they're not able to get there, I am kind of probably with the thinking that you are, Ricky. It would be a little bit disappointing, only because the expectation I think is so high and the hype is so high and things that you have going for you with the new head coach and the young quarterback who's still going to be good, who did well last year, making the jump to year 2 and all this stuff and just all this new culture, this new culture feel around Texas. If they're not able to do that, it will be a bit demoralizing.
No, and for me, the ones that I ran through the schedule a second time, and I mean, without my kind of bold prediction in there, Maryland, San Jose State, Iowa State, Kansas State, Kansas, Texas Tech. That's 6. Those are wins that I think money, and I know you got to go out there and play the game. It's easy for me to say it, but money in the bag, put them as wins. Put them as wins. Texas should have limited problems with those teams this year. And I think that we will see an improved Texas team. However, are the expectations for Texas going to be too high? Is it going to be, you know what, we've got Tom Herman, boom, we should be a top 25 team? Because, I mean, you look at Herman coming in, there is reason to be hyped about him. In his years at Houston as a head coach, 22-4. That's a phenomenal record in 2 years. He was also 6-0 against teams ranked in the AP top 25. 6-0, and that was with Houston, that he was beating teams in the top 25. Now, I know the article that you mentioned played great devil's advocate to that. Yes, they were 2 losses, but UConn and Navy were season killers for the Cougars and where they were. However, the thing that, and I mean, this is me getting to that article, getting to another point later, is one of the things that Tom Herman now has in his back pocket, now being a part of a Power 5 conference. How many times so far in this playoff system, Oklahoma's one of them, did we see a team lose one game and still make the playoff?
That's true.
At a group of 5, one loss, especially that team, boom, season killer. However, one loss, and I mean, Texas would only need one loss. We're not talking college football playoff legitimately, but going down the line, like eventually that's the goal. One loss wouldn't be a killer for Tom Herman at Texas. I expect this season is not going to be a blow the door off just kick the door off the hinges kind of season. I think the Texas will have more wins than it had last year, but more importantly, Texas fans will see that there is a different culture on campus, that although I will agree with you, Brandon, that the way Charlie Strong was exactly treated at Texas wasn't completely fair to Charlie Strong.
It wasn't
I do
fair.
not think
it
he
was not fair.
He was not given the chances that he should have been given, and was kind of, I don't want to say blackballed, but he was kind of put behind the 8 ball in his situation and his overall time at Texas. However, fans will see different culture. They will begin to see a light at the end of the tunnel. And if this Texas team could add a 6-7 win season, with one of those wins being against hated rival Oklahoma, because we'll get to Oklahoma next week, but the thing I want to mention with that game, because we're talking about Texas, yeah, they've got Baker Mayfield. Both of those teams have quarterbacks coming in that are experienced from last year and new head coaches as from different routes. Tom Herman coming from the Group of 5 rank, previously at coordinator with Ohio State. Then you got Ridley with the Oklahoma Sooners taking over as the head coach after being the offensive coordinator after Bob Stoops kind of stepped down this offseason in shocking news. So that'll be a game that kind of has a similar storyline for both teams heading into it.
I think you're right. It's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be exciting, and why should it not be an exciting season for the Texas Longhorns? They have a lot to look forward to. You would think, and I think there's a lot of people out there that think there's no way Texas has another losing season. Not after the last couple of seasons that they've had of I think nothing else would characterize it better than the word turmoil. And that's what it's felt like. When
Texas fans want to get back to the Mac Brown days.
But when they want to get back to where there wasn't this, man, is Texas going to be good this year? Or they want to know, how good is Texas going to be this year?
Exactly. The Mac Brown days.
That's exactly it. And I mean, I feel for you, because I feel for, anybody who's been in the situation where it's like, when is it going to happen again? You were at greatness, you felt greatness, you tasted it, you liked it, you lived as a king in it, and then you fell off and you were homeless for a little bit, and now you're trying to find the right home and the right fit and feel again like you can win again, you can do things again, and you can be that powerhouse, and Texas has a really good opportunity to do that. They have the pieces in place. I really do believe that they have the right head coach. I know I read that to you earlier, but it didn't necessarily. It wasn't an opinion of mine. It was
opinion
just
of
the article.
I
think they have the right guy. Tom Herman did a lot of good while he was at Houston. He put Houston on the map. He made people talk about the Houston Cougars. Was anyone talking about them before Tom Herman was there?
Not many.
And really, really making them have a push and give them a run and stuff like that. No one was really talking about them before that. And now they're talking about Tom Herman, a guy who they weren't talking about as much before he started to have success with Houston.
The only time I heard the Houston Cougars mentioned, and you guys out there in comment section land, help me out on a name because my computer had died, but it was the quarterback before Tom Herman's time. There was a really good quarterback at Houston that was probably like I remember him as like an air raid type guy where he was just he scored a bunch of touchdown passes through the air. That's all I remember, and that was the only time I remember hearing about the Houston Cougars before Tom Herman was even there. It might have been a few years before Tom Herman was there, but that was the only time I heard of them. The thing that I want to end this with, though, is like you said, I think they have the right guy as well. And as Texas Longhorn fans, I know how you feel with what Brandon was saying. I know it's a different sport, but being a Chicago Bulls fan, I know exactly how you feel. For me, it might be a little bit different than you because we do have the age gap, but growing up as a kid, feeling that greatness of championship, and then in my college years, the greatness of, yeah, we didn't win any championships, but Derrick Rose bringing us to number 1 seeds, and it's like, man, it wasn't a question of will the Bulls make the playoffs? It was how good are we going to be? Mm-hmm. Now it's a question of is Hoiberg going to get us to the playoffs? And we're trading all our talent, but that is for a different podcast. I'm just telling you, I understand how you feel. I understand how you feel in that regard from that fandom. I could bring it out and kind of be similar to you for a second. Do you have any final thoughts before we wrap this whole shindig up?
My final thought is, and it's to have you, the fans, be able to kind of crunch on this a little bit as well, is that if Charlie Strong would have been with Texas this season, it would have been his, rookie? Third, fourth season?
Third.
With Texas?
I want to say his third season.
If Texas comes out and has a successful season, will people then look and say, Charlie Strong was doing some things right? Because these are Charlie Strong's guys. And it didn't quite get to reach him, but his guys were the right guys. They were in place. He was recruiting well. It took him a little bit longer. The curve was a little bit longer, but he was able to get there in what he did. He's no longer there, obviously. But was he on to something there? And was he truly railroaded in the way that they treated him there at Texas? But then at the same time, too, that means that could be a really good starting point for then new head coach Tom Herman to be able to build off of that, and the veteran presence that's going to be at Texas this year, which is going to be huge, especially on the defensive side of the football, is Tom Herman can build off of that, build his program. We know what he's been able to do at Houston, and Texas football could really be seeing some very, very good days ahead.
Yeah, and exactly the thing that I kind of go off of that is that I don't think it'll be exactly, man, Charlie Strong really had something going. It'll be, wow, we had the talent on the field. See what this guy's able to do with it. I knew we should have got rid of Charlie Strong. I think that's what most of the, not pundits, but most of the outcry will be. But I want to flip it on to you guys. Let us know down below, what do you think about Tom Herman this year, about the Texas Longhorns, about my bold prediction. They're going to beat Oklahoma this year. Mark it down in the calendars right now. I want to thank you guys for watching and listening. If you're on YouTube watching or if you're on Blog Talk Radio listening to the podcast, we love all of you guys each and every week. Brandon and I will be back next week to finish up the Big 12, and then the week after that, Brandon, we're not just making our college football playoff predictions. We're making our Heisman predictions. We're doing everything prediction-wise that next week to get you guys ready for the first week of games in the college football season. I want to thank you guys for watching and listening one more time, and as always, have a good day, everybody.